We're going to discuss matters, tax, and the finance bill. Now that today it's going through its third reading and hopefully the final one. And let's just break it down to, you know, what it is and how it affects us as Kenyans. Because trust you me, everyone knows. Most of us know about high cost of living, but we don't know what's the cost. We don't know why there are new taxes that are being introduced, and that is why we have invited a guru in this matters. Dr. Shukurani. How are you, Dr. Shukurani?
Very well.
How's your morning?
Thank God, I'm doing very fine.
You're doing very fine.
Yes.
Unaonekana unadu fine. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we want you to help us break the issue of taxation in the country, and what it is, and the types that are there, and also how the government leverages on that to develop the country, and if we are in the right track as a country.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Basically, taxes is a vehicle that a government or any regime uses so as to collect funds from the people. Basically, we say taxes, they are levies or charges. Then these levies are meted on individuals or institutions, okay? And then so that the government can be able to collect funds from these people. They collect the funds through what we call physical policies. It's the government which comes with these physical policies, and one of them is the taxation. It is supposed to bring together funds from the various places that I've told you, either from individuals, from companies, in an equitable manner. When I say an equitable manner, is that the taxation should be relative. When you use the example of an employee, the one who earns more, okay, a huge tax chunk will come from him or her, and the one who earns less, a huge chunk of taxes comes from them. And basically the uses of these taxes is to help the country develop. We are saying we are spreading or rather we are getting funds from those who have much. Like I said, if you have more, you'll pay more taxes. You bring them from those who have much and also those who have little, and then the government uses them to develop the nation, like building hospitals, roads, education institutions for the betterment of the institution. So that is the main goal. That is the fundamental goal of raising taxes.
Yeah.
Yes. When they are used wisely.
When they're used wisely. What is using them wisely? Koni.
Basically, when I say using wisely, is their goals, objective that any nation would wish to achieve, the aspiration of these nations. So using them wisely is getting the funds from those who collect them, like in Kenya, the ones who collect taxes at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Once they've collected them, now the government goes ahead to spend. It goes ahead to spend building roads, building hospitals, and all other social amenities. But now in most cases, you find that they are not used for those purposes intended. Now that is unwise spending. They go on areas which basically will not benefit the local mwananchi who has worked so hard to pay the taxes.
All right. And when we look at maybe the salary of a civil servant, there are so many things that they have to, there's so many deductions. Are those part of, can we say the deductions are still part of the taxes, because as the end kwa mfuko yake, and the other day I remember the president said, mbona watu wanakataa kukatwa hii 3% yet watarudishiwa 97% of their salary. Yet the 97 has a lot of deductions, right? So what are these other deductions and how practical is it?
Basically, the most significant deduction in any person who works or who has a payslip is the taxes that you pay, income tax, okay, from your salary. So it is in stages, depending on the amount that you earn. Then it can be like it moves gradually until the upper apex has been 30, but here it's being proposed to go to up to 35. See, so now that is the first deduction, the tax, which we call it pay as you earn. As you earn this money, we tax you. So if we go with the upper bracket as it has been of 30%, that means if you earn 100,000, just a rough calculation, then 30% goes to the government. That is 30,000. So you remain with 70,000. That is the first deduction. The second one now will come with regard to things to do with the NHIF, the National Hospital Insurance Fund. So that is also a deduction, which of course, again, is pegged on the amount of salary that an individual has. That is a deduction. And then there is what we call NSSF. It is also deducted. It is 200. It has gone up to 1,200, depending on whichever rate that the employer and the employee chooses. So that is a deduction. Okay, these are statutory, they are mandatory. The ones which I've mentioned here, they are mandatory. It is a must for any employer to deduct pay as you earn. It is a must for any employer to deduct NHIF, and if you do not deduct it, you will be penalized. Okay, if it is a must for any employer to deduct pay to deduct NSSF, if you do not do it, you'll be penalized. And then there are other deductions which are not mandatory, like you might have some pension. Okay, you have enrolled your employees into a pension scheme. So this deduction is upon the company, which may either decide now we will be deducting 3,000 or 2,000 from our employees and remit them to a retirement benefit scheme, so that on retirement they can still be able to get some good flow of income. So that is not mandatory. It is upon agreement. And then also of course, when you are when you are contributing to a SACCO, okay, that is upon yourself. You want to be a member of a SACCO, so you can be contributing there. It will be deducted from your pay slip, so that at a given point in time you can either access a loan or the benefits that comes with the SACCO. Also, there are some other deductions, like if you can take a loan and you hear this loan is a check off. When you hear a loan is check off, it means the deductions are made directly by the employer when they are preparing the payroll, and then it will be remitted to the financial institution that has given you that loan. Okay, so there are so many deductions, but there are some which are mandatory and ones which are not mandatory. The mandatory ones are a must requirement by the government.
All right.
To be deducted.
When we look at the finance bill, we find other words that related to tax, like zero rated. When something is zero rated, what does that mean?
When something is zero rated and exemption goes hand in hand. Okay, you will find some said to be zero rated, others are said to be exempted. Then the others now have got a rate, either 8%, 2%, 7%, 16%, like the value added taxes. Now, when you hear an item is zero rated, this is what it means. It means your sales, when you do a sales invoice, okay, you have your commodities and then you want to sell them to, say, you, Diana, I want to sell my commodities to you, but that commodity is zero rated. Okay, it means I will not charge taxes to you. If the amount is like 100,000, it will be just that 100,000. There will be no like added 16% on top. That is zero rated. Same also applies to exempted or exempt taxation. So they are also exempted to paying that taxes. Okay, so the sales invoice will have the common figure without addition of taxes. But now the difference comes on where you've purchased the goods, the purchases. We call it input tax. The sales, we call it output tax when we are remitting VAT to the tax authority, and the purchases, we call them input tax. Now, with zero rated, they can claim the input tax from the taxing authority. You can be able to claim. It's like you are asking back the money you have paid for VAT from the commissioner to pay you back. Okay, but of course they do not pay you back. They will say the next time you are in a payable position, you will not pay, we will offset.
Okay.
But now when we are in exempt, you cannot claim that tax on input. So that is the small difference between exempt tax and zero rated taxes.
And what are the factors that lead to a commodity or a company being told, okay, you are zero rated and the others are exempted?
Basically, the factors here is about what we call incentives. They are tax incentives because the government want to promote, like in most cases, exports are zero rated because when exports are zero, when we do much in terms of export, when we export more and import less, we are improving something we call in economics balance of payments. Our current account will have a positive figure. What do I mean by balance of payments? Balance of payments is the difference between your exports and your imports. So if the exports are higher, okay, you'll have a positive balance of payment. If the imports are higher, then you have a negative. Like in Kenya here, we are consumers so much. So we have negatives in most cases because we import so much and we export less. That's why now the government comes in and say, with their fiscal policies and say these commodities will be zero rated so that we can incentivize so many people to do exportation to improve on our GDP.
All right. Yes. But now there's the issue or the question of recession. And Dr. Shukurani, I'd want you to explain to us, what is recession, Kwanza? And as a country, are we there or are we heading there? And what will the taxes do? Like what will be the effect of the taxes in this period that we are facing unemployment as a country, businesses are not doing so well, and everyone is complaining left, right, and center?
All right, thank you so much once again. Recession, we can look at recession from the business cycle. We have a period when the economy is doing good.
Yeah.
And that one in economics, we call it boom. That is a boom when there is full employment, the spending in the household, nobody's complaining, everything goes well. Employment is there and economic activities are thriving. That is in boom period. Now, after that, when it reaches a peak, there comes a season when now it has to go down. And when it is coming down, it's heading towards where we call recession. So recession, it is at that point when the economic activities are not doing well, they are worse. There is unemployment. Unemployment is high. Business activities are low. The spending in the household is not that significant. People are complaining. In other words, people are struggling when we come to recession. Yes.
And so are we there?
So as a country, I wouldn't say that we are at recession at the moment. Beside the fact that there is high cost of living. Okay, people are complaining because they cannot put food on their table, and of course, unemployment is there. But as at an economic point of view, we cannot really say that we are at a recession. But if we do not correct the trend, we might head there because we have a huge number of youth who are unemployed there, and they keep on increasing every now and then. They leave schools, they get to the job market, they find no jobs. Okay, so if they do not find job and the numbers keep on escalating so high, now when we compare with those who are in full employment vis-a-vis those who are in employment, if they go higher now, these people cannot take care of themselves. Now at that point, we are plunging into that recession. And when the businesses are not thriving, when the businesses are also not thriving, they are not doing well because the issues of the taxes that are being proposed in the new finance bill, okay, it's going to do some natural selection, okay, survival for the fittest. Some businesses, of course, they will close shop. Those which they are really at the verge of struggling, they may not be able to cope. Okay, because we hear that the turnover tax is going to be increased. Okay, and again, the bracket which was paying turnover tax is also going to be changed. So in a way, those companies which were enjoying not paying that turnover tax, they are going to be brought on board to pay turnover tax. And again, the bracket of those companies which were paying turnover tax and not paying the corporate tax now will be required to pay the corporate taxes. So of course there are people who are going to feel the pain, and it will hurt companies. And if some companies are hurt, they may decide to close shops. Okay, maybe even other companies are not indigenous. They are owned by foreigners. So when they feel like the tax laws here, they are punitive. Okay, and these are, of course, they are already people who've come from abroad. Their thinking is on a broader perspective. It's not Kenya, because they are not indigenous. They have no much allegiance and loyalty to this country as we people born in Kenya do. They may think like, okay, let us go to Tanzania, let us go to Rwanda, Burundi, let us go to Seychelles, Morocco, such like countries.
Yeah.
Okay, they may decide to go. So if they go there, and maybe these people were contributing towards paying taxes, and we were using those taxes for developing the country, now that revenue will not be there. Remember, there are companies which have been employing people. So employment will be lost.
But already they have started to flee the country, because recently we've read stories, and even in our daily papers, this I think twice we've read that they have started fleeing the country already. And that is why I had the feeling that we are already in recession, because these people are fleeing. The finance bill, it has not been passed yet, but you kind of feel the pressure already. So how is the government really going to convince them to stay, or convince others to actually invest in the country?
Of course, we also have to bear in mind that Kenya is strategically placed. Okay, it is strategically placed, and it is promising. Okay, it has got a good and a huge potential to do better.
Yeah,
of course. Now here comes the different types of investors. There are those who are risk takers.
Yeah.
And those who are risk avoiders. Okay. Those who will want to take minimal risk. So those you see them living right now, they are those who really want to avoid risk. They don't want to be associated with any risks at all, any eventuality. So they are trying to avoid as much as they can, so that in the at the end, they might continue having their good return on investment. But there are those people who are risk takers. Of course, these issues of raising taxes and here and there, it's something that is going to stabilize. Okay, you see, we say change is a constant thing. Okay, when it happens immediately, even in your own house, the very first day you implement the change, people will feel the pain. Okay, but afterwards, when people acclimatize to it, it will become normal, and then from there now people will when they have survived the fit in natural selection, we say the fit have survived, they will come up with better ways of how they can survive in that situation. So yes, companies will leave, and of course others will leave, but others will come. Okay, and the others which are here, they will grow strong. Yes.
So I want to see tough. They are not tough people. Yeah, so now that umesema yes, change inakuja. Kuna timeline ya kupitia matatizo. Is there a timeline where we'll say, basi maybe wacha tuvumilie for this 1 year, and then things are going to be okay, since eventually, as you've said, things are going to be stable?
Of course, there is a period of pain in every change that comes. Okay, it is surrounded by pain. Now, for instance, there is this taxation which is going to be levied on the roads, the fuels. Okay, moving from one bracket to the next. Of course, immediately people are going to feel that pain. okay, transporting commodities from the farmland where the farmers are to the marketplace, that is going to increase. And definitely any increase of the factors of production, they are directly translated to the ultimate consumer. So if you are somebody dealing with tomatoes, okay, from up country there where they're being farmed, and maybe a crate of tomatoes was going at 4,000. Now, when these fuel levies have been increased, the taxes have been increased, definitely the transportation will go high. Okay. When that transportation goes high, the crate of tomatoes, which was at 4,000, will definitely go at 4,500 probably. Okay. When it goes to 4,500, the ultimate consumer here will not buy one tomato at probably 10 bob, it will be 20 bob. So they will start crying. They feel the pain. But now, in the long run, when these taxes have been collected, they are said they are going to maintain the roads. And the roads are really maintained well. Of course, it's not something which is going to take 1 year. It might take 1, 2, 3 years to correct the areas where there are so many pit holes along the road. So when they are repaired, there will be also easy in the movement of goods from the farmers to the market. Why? Because the road will be good. The road will have been expanded, so there will be no traffic jam, and also the maintenance of those trucks which transport the commodities will also be low because the roads are good. So when that happens, definitely the prices will go down. The prices will go down, and then the farmers now will start to enjoy, and the ultimate consumer will start to enjoy. So it's something which goes up and down and stabilizes itself at the end. And again, on the other hand, the farm inputs, they're being subsidized. Okay, taxes are being removed from the input. So we might see one area they have increased the taxes, on another area they are going to reduce them or even remove them altogether. So when that happens, definitely producing that commodities in the farms will be minimal as compared to yesteryears. So that way there will be a balance in itself.
All right. So there's this question that has been arising, and even from the listeners, is the fact that, well, maybe we understand whatever is going on, the taxes and how everything is going to be okay after some time, but is it timely? Is it the right time to actually introduce all of these things when people are crying? Now you adding to their suffering. It's like jumping from the frying pan to the fire itself without no one even warned you about it. You're just jumping into it.
Of course, as I said earlier on, these are what we call physical policies, something to do with government spendings and raising revenues. Okay.
By fiscal, you mean fiscal or
physical? It's a finance term.
The FIS.
FIS.
Okay.
FIS, not the PH one.
Okay.
It's physical policies. Now, they do talk about government spending and how they raise their revenue. Now, when we talk about a government, it's a different regime. We were in the regime of Mr. Uhuru. Now we are being governed by Dr. Ruto. Okay. So now every president who comes on board, they have their own aspiration. They have their own goals. They have their own manifesto that they need to finance. And because of that, that this government has got its ambitious manifesto, it wants to finance it. And the ultimate financiers, it's only that we as Kenyans have really forgotten, and we've been blinded. We are the ultimate employers of these politicians, but it has been turned upside down, that we beg them. It is us who really finance the government. So we are the bosses. But the way we have really stood low before these politicians, okay, it's really amazing, and it's really bad. When a politician build a house, okay, when a politician build a school, build a hospital, we clap for them and tell them they have done well. No, they've not done well. They have done what they are supposed to do. Okay, they've done what they're supposed to do, but they have really tarnished it to feel like it is money from them. They didn't have any money before they became politicians. They were just any local Tom, Dick, and Harry people in the village. So they have raised they are proposing, okay, when this bill becomes to law, now we will say they have raised, okay? They have imposed these taxes are being imposed on the payers. So when it passes, they will have imposed this taxation because now they want the money to finance their projects. Remember, the president wants to build the houses. They call it affordable housing. Okay?
Yes.
But now, how are they going to build it? They have to collect the funds, okay, from those people who are being targeted, who will be contributing that 3% here is going to be reduced to 1.5%. If you don't qualify to get a house, maybe the money is going to be returned. Maybe it's the narrative behind there. It might not have been explained so well, but all in all, the government wants the money to use it for their own aspiration as the government when they want to fulfill their manifestos. Okay, that is the reason as to why they are proposing all this. They want to build roads. They want to do ABCD concerning what they think is fit for this nation from their perspective as our leaders.
So I think what I'm getting is that the plan is good. The narrative is the problem.
Yes, the plan is good, but now even the narrative might not be a problem, but we have a history as Kenyans, okay? A history of funds being misused, a history of funds not being put into right usage, ending into people's pocket.
You're listening to Blue Radio, bringing the vibe.
Look at our country, Kenya. There are so many private schools, and we opt to take our children to the private schools as opposed to the public schools. Why? Because the funds have not been used in the way they are supposed to be used.
Yeah, and with that, especially now that the budget was read, and the education, now that you have talked about education, the education sector was allocated a huge amount of money. So does that mean that the amount is great, but now how it's going to be used is the problem?
Basically, the amount there is great. The budget has been proposed to move from 3.3 trillion to around 4.
Yeah, to 3.7.
3.7. That is almost, round it up, is 4.
It's 4.
4 trillion. So that is good. It is a sign that our economy is growing. Okay, our economy is growing because remember, those people who draw these budgets, they are not amateurs. They are people I respect in the Ministry of Finance and from the Minister of Finance and Planning. So their economics, their finance people, they prepare it and they have done their thorough research. They know that this government can fund this. Okay. The problem is, and even the Kenya Revenue Authority, we can applaud it, that it has been collecting funds. Okay, it has been collecting funds. Sometimes it fails to meet its target by a very short margin. What does that mean? It means they are trying to be as effective as possible. But the problem is not how the funds are collected. Okay, the problem is when they have been collected, how they're going to be used. That is where the big question is. But now going to the question that I've asked about allocating a huge chunk to the education sector, you remember right now we are there is that transfer from the 844 system into the CBC.
Yeah,
the CBC is, I would say, is a very costly system.
Yeah,
because it is practical based, and practical based classes requires laboratories. Okay, it will now be laboratories or exhibitions, not only for the science subjects. We knew that we have to build medical labs, labs for physics and chemistry, but now there will be even labs for mathematics, for English, even for Kiswahili, for history. So many labs because the learner here, we are training them on what we call hands-based experience. So they have to see what they are learning theoretically. They have to see. They have to really try to know how it's done. So equipping those laboratories is requires finances.
Yeah.
I think that is the reason as to why the government has allocated a huge chunk of funds into the education. And again, another thing is like you've had an outcry from especially the public universities. They are really struggling. There are no finances. Their lecturers are not being paid on time. Okay. I believe the huge chunk of funds being allocated to the education maybe is to clear the arrears. Probably.
Right. Thank you so much. I can see time is definitely not on our side. It is already 10 a.m. It's a pleasure to have you in studio with us. Thank you so much for expounding on the issues that are affecting us in the economy side of the country. And we will, of course, consult more and more when we need clarification. So thank you so much for your time and your knowledge.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.